Healing isn't just about processing your past. It's about understanding the laws that govern energy, emotion, and identity. When you can align trauma healing with the seven universal laws, everything accelerates. Patterns break, identities expand, and life stops repeating old cycles. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how these laws show up in your life and how you can use them to reclaim your power, to release your trauma, and to expand into your fullest self. Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie Faber, and I help people reconnect with their authentic selves through trauma-informed, energy-based healing. I work with people who are ready to move past survival mode and actually expand their identity and their energy and their life. When we talk about trauma, a lot of people think about the painful events that happened from their past. But trauma isn't what happened to you. It's the energy that got stuck in your body and in your nervous system when those experiences happened. It's the part of you that got frozen or shamed or hypervigilant just to survive. An identity, that's the structure you build to navigate the world safely. It's all of the roles and the stories and the behaviors that you learned to keep yourself protected, sometimes at the expense of your authentic self. You learned how to survive, not necessarily how to thrive. Then we have the universal laws, the invisible mechanics of how energy shifts and eventually becomes form in your life. Think of them as the rules of the universe that determine how your inner world shows up in your outer reality. They explain why patterns repeat, why energy gets stuck, and why identity can feel so hard to change, even when you're doing all of the right healing work. So here's the truth. When you can understand these laws, you stop healing randomly. You stop guessing about what will work and relying on willpower alone. You start healing consciously. You start seeing the patterns and understanding the mechanics and intentionally shifting your energy and identity in a way that's going to stick. So for example, I used to constantly push myself to fix my feelings or to control my reactions without understanding why I kept getting triggered. It wasn't about the moment. It was about the energy that was trapped in my body and the survival identity I was still carrying. So once I started to work with these laws, I began to see the patterns and I started to shift them at the root, not just manage the symptoms. So before I dive into each of the seven laws, let's talk about why this matters for trauma healing. Because trauma doesn't just live as emotional scars. It creates energetic distortions in your body and in your nervous system. These distortions show up as limiting beliefs and hypervigilance and emotional blocks and repeating patterns that feel impossible to break. Like, have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of relationship? Or why old habits keep resurfacing even after you do the work? That is trauma energy at work. Your nervous system is wired to seek the familiar, even if it's painful, even if it's something that you don't consciously want to experience. Until that energy shifts, the patterns will repeat. And this is where the universal laws come in, because they give you language and a map for what is actually happening inside, why the patterns repeat, how the energy gets stuck, how identity shifts, and how to reclaim your personal power. So, in other words, these laws help you stop spinning in circles. And instead of healing randomly and trying one technique after another without any type of change, you begin to heal consciously. You begin to see the mechanics of your inner world and how shifts in energy directly translate to shifts in your identity in your life. So the first law is mentalism, which basically means our mind creates our reality. Every single thing starts in the mind, in the way that we interpret and assign meaning to our experiences. So when we experience trauma, our mind gets hijacked by survival mode. You don't just live in the moment, you live inside your interpretation of what happened. And those interpretations create your reality. Your survival identity is essentially a mental construct you built to keep yourself safe. And the tricky part is that the identity can feel completely real, even if it's keeping you stuck. But Here's the good news. If everything starts with the mind, then shifting your identity starts there too. You can change your inner story. And when you do, your outer experience begins to shift naturally. Everything begins with the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve and what is possible. Here are 3 practical ways that you can work with mentalism. Number 1, inner child dialogue. So talk to the part of you that got hurt, acknowledge it, and rewrite that narrative. If you need help with this, I have an inner child program inside of my membership space. I will link the membership in the video description. Number 2, cognitive reframes rooted in authenticity. So replace distorted survival-based beliefs with ones that actually reflect your true self. Number 3, notice your inherited beliefs. So for example, beliefs like love means sacrifice or I have to work hard to earn money, they often come from family and cultural programming. They're not your truth. I remember realizing that I had been living in an identity built around emotional responsibility. I thought I had to manage everybody else's feelings just to stay safe, that my worth depended on keeping the peace. So once I started to see that as a story my mind was telling me, not the actual truth, I began to shift. I could challenge it, I could rewrite it, and I could step into a version of myself that wasn't defined by other people's emotions. So understanding mentalism isn't just about thinking more positively or forcing your mind to believe something. It's about seeing how your mind has been creating your current reality and then learning to consciously create a new one that is aligned with your authentic identity instead of survival patterns. The second law is correspondence, which simply means as within, so without. So whatever is happening inside of you is what is showing up in your external reality. In other words, your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So think about it like this. How many times have you had the exact same conflict with different people? Or you felt like you kept attracting the same type of relationship or situation? That is not a coincidence. Those experiences are mirrors of internal wounds, of unhealed patterns, and of survival-based beliefs. This is also why setting boundaries alone doesn't work. You can create the perfect boundary, but if your internal self-concept is still wounded, if you don't fully feel worthy or safe inside, you will keep attracting situations that reinforce that inner story. The external world is simply mirroring what is unresolved within. But here's the empowering part. When you start healing your internal world, your beliefs, your emotional patterns, and your energetic blueprint, your external world starts to shift naturally. People, opportunities, and circumstances begin to align with the healed version of you, not the old survival identity. So you want to look at the reoccurring patterns in your life and in your relationships and notice what internal belief they reflect. Track your triggers. Your strongest reactions are clues to inner wounds. And ask yourself, am I reacting to the person or am I reacting to the story that I'm carrying inside? All of this is shadow work. And again, inside my membership, I have an entire shadow work program that teaches how to deconstruct these things so that you can find the hidden energetic blocks that are inside of them, keeping you stuck in a looping. This law is a game changer because it shifts the focus from trying to control everything outside of you to consciously healing and aligning what is inside. When the inner shifts, the outer naturally follows. The third law is vibration, which means everything is energy and everything vibrates at a frequency. Absolutely nothing is static. Your thoughts, your emotions, and even your body carry energy that affects everything around you. Trauma freezes energy in the body. So when we suppress emotions to survive, sadness, anger, or fear, that energy gets stuck. And over time, this stagnation shows up as anxiety or indecision or disconnection, even physical tension and illness. So essentially, your energy becomes a map of all of your unprocessed experiences. But here's the empowering part. Higher identity lives in higher frequencies. States like clarity and creativity and intuition and flow, these are vibrational experiences. When your energy is free and moving, your life starts to reflect that vibration. Your decisions, your relationships, opportunities, they all shift in alignment with the energy you're carrying. So, here are 4 practical tools you can use to work with vibration. Number 1 is breath work. Simple, conscious breathing to release stuck energy and reset your nervous system. I took a fantastic breathwork program by the beautiful Dominique Sierra. I will link it below for you. Number 2 is somatic movement. Gentle body movement can help emotions that are stuck move throughout the body. You can do yoga, you can do dance, you can do whatever you want. Sometimes I just move and vocalize whatever emotion I'm feeling. And by doing this, you're actually moving energy. Number 3 is emotional release practices. So journaling, crying, or expressive arts to let that suppressed energy flow. And number 4 is chakra work. I recommend focusing specifically on the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus to reconnect with grounding, emotional flow, and personal power. These 3 chakras represent your physical body where your emotion is trapped. The 4th law is polarity. That's the understanding that everything has an opposite. Light and dark, fear and courage, shame and empowerment, shutdown and expansion. So trauma often convinces us that I am only this wound. It keeps us stuck in extremes, making us feel like this is all that there is. But polarity reminds us that the opposite is always available. Fear isn't permanent. Courage also exists alongside of it. Shame isn't your identity. Empowerment is waiting on the other side. Shutdown isn't your only state. Expansion is equally as possible. So true healing comes when we integrate both shadow and light. We don't need to fight or erase our wounds. We just need to acknowledge them, to honor them, and to consciously lean into their opposite. This is what creates balance. You're not broken. You're blocked. And recognizing the polarity gives you a path to freedom. So one way to work with polarity is to notice your extreme trauma conditioned beliefs. For example, if you believe I can never say no, the opposite might be I can assert my needs safely. If you feel I'm unlovable, the opposite is I am worthy of love and belonging. Naming the opposite doesn't mean ignoring the core wound. It just means expanding into your wholeness. I remember realizing that I had been living in a constant place of fear of disappointing other people. So that fear dominated my decisions and my relationships and even my sense of self. Polarity taught me to see that courage, the ability to assert my needs and to honor my truth, was not just possible, it was already inside of me. That awareness changed how I interacted with the world and with myself. So polarity is a powerful tool because it helps us move from extremes into integration. It teaches us that your past and your trauma doesn't define you. It's simply one side of the spectrum that you can consciously balance. The 5th law is rhythm. That is the understanding that everything moves in cycles. Healing is not a straight line. Your nervous system naturally oscillates between activation and regulation, expansion and contraction, processing and integration. So identity shifts also happen in cycles. You shed old layers. You enter void periods where it feels like nothing is happening. And then you move into the next phase of expansion where everything feels aligned and new. This isn't a setback. This is your system recalibrating to your new identity. So when you understand this rhythm, you stop becoming frustrated with the ebb and flow of healing. You realize that moments of overwhelm or confusion or stagnation are a natural part of the process. It's not a sign that you're failing. Your system is simply processing and integrating and catching up and preparing for the next phase of growth. So I recommend tracking your emotional waves. Like notice when you're in low energy or when you're in high activation and honor both states without judgment. Observe the stress response cycle. So notice when your body moves between fight, flight, freeze, and rest. And embrace the void. Those are the periods where it feels like nothing is happening, but what is actually happening is the nervous system recalibrating and your identity integration occurring at a very subtle level. I remember there was one phase where I was feeling completely stuck, where I was unmotivated and I was unsure, and I felt like I had taken 5 steps back. I realized later that this was a void period. It's a necessary pause before my next phase of growth. And once I embraced the rhythm and I stopped forcing progress, I noticed integration happening naturally. My creativity, my energy, my clarity, they all returned stronger than before. So, rhythm is a reminder that healing and identity expansion aren't about pushing forward consistently. They're about honoring the cycles and trusting the process. And once you get this, you stop resisting your natural flow and you allow your system to move into harmony with your growth. The sixth law is cause and effect. That's the understanding that nothing is random. Every action, every thought, every energy you put out creates and affects your life. Trauma conditioning creates predictable reactions, which is why your triggers make so much sense once you look beneath the surface. So, for example, if someone criticizes you, you might instantly feel shame or anger. That reaction isn't random. It is the effect of past experiences and energy you've been carrying. And once you can understand this, it becomes clear why certain patterns keep repeating themselves in your relationships, in your work, and your self-expression. Because when you change the energetic cause, you change the effect. Every boundary you set, every reframe you practice, every regulation exercise that you do, each one is a deliberate cause that shifts your future. This law gives you the blueprint for conscious creation. So you're going to want to notice your triggers as messengers. What are they showing you about your inner wounds? Take intentional action to shift your energy before reacting. Use boundaries and reflections and nervous system regulation as tools to create new outcomes. So I remember noticing a pattern of getting triggered by criticism from certain people. And at first I thought I was being too sensitive. But when I traced it back, I saw the energetic cause. Old beliefs and survival identity patterns. Once I started working on shifting that internal energy through journaling and boundary setting and conscious self-talk, the same situation no longer triggered me in the same way. The effect changed because I changed the state. This law is a game changer because it shows you that your life isn't happening to you. It is happening because of the energy that you're running. And once you can understand that, conscious creation becomes possible. The seventh and final law is gender, which isn't about being a man or a woman, but about balancing masculine and feminine energies within you. Trauma often pushes us into extremes. When we're operating from survival, we tend to get stuck in hyper masculine energy. Overdoing, over controlling, hyper vigilant, even behaviors like overgiving and people pleasing. Like they might look feminine on the surface, but they're actually survival mode doing. They're driven by fear and effort, not receptivity and flow. Healing with this law means integration, not dominance. Authentic masculine energy gives you structure and clarity and boundaries and decisive action. Authentic feminine energy gives you intuition and emotional awareness and flow and the ability to receive. Expansion happens when both of these energies coexist at the same time in balance. When doing and receiving, structure and flow, action and presence are working together harmoniously. So start to notice where you're stuck in survival mode doing. Are you overworking, overfixing, overpleasing out of fear? Practice cultivating true feminine energy through receptivity and intuition and emotional resonance, and allow yourself to receive rather than constantly perform. Strengthen your masculine energy through healthy boundaries, structure, decisive action rooted in your authenticity. So I used to overgive and people please, thinking that that was my feminine side, but it was actually hyper masculine survival. I was constantly controlling outcomes and anticipating needs and managing other people in order to feel safe. And once I learned to distinguish survival mode doing from authentic feminine flow, I could actually receive and rest and act from a place of alignment instead of fear. True identity expansion comes from integrating both of those energies, moving out of survival extremes and into a state where masculine and feminine can coexist, fueling presence, authenticity, and personal power. So, healing trauma isn't just about feeling better, it's about becoming the version of you that trauma never allowed. It's about moving beyond survival and reclaiming your energy and stepping fully into your authentic identity. Take a moment to journal on which one of these laws you feel most out of alignment with, which areas are holding you back, which laws are calling you to expand, reflect, explore. And if you want, you're welcome to put your insights in the comments. I would love to read what resonated with you, and then choose to take one intentional action, even if it's just a small one, towards your alignment. If you want guidance or structure or support as you embody this work, my membership is designed exactly for that. Inside, you're going to find core courses on inner child healing and shadow work and boundaries. There's a full nervous system library to help you recalibrate the frequency you want to embody, step-by-step frameworks to reclaim your identity and expand your energy, and practical tools to integrate the 7 universal laws into your daily life. This isn't just theory. It's a place to do the work, to feel the shifts, and to create lasting transformation. Come join us. You will have everything you need to move from surviving to thriving and from stuck to fully embodied. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments which law resonated the most for you, and I will see you in the next video.